Please join me welcoming Professor Jing-hua Yin.
Well, thank you, Professor Sato, for the introduction. My name is Zhang Yin, as you already know. All right, I've been teaching Chinese, for 20 years in the United States. But I originally, was born and brought up in China, and I came to the United States and went to Stony, Buffalo, in the same, the university system, and I graduated in 1995, and then started to teach Chinese, because at that time I just found that Chinese was not taught in a proper way. You say, what? Yeah, because the Chinese language is different. It's a tonal language that uses logographs, for its writing system. Well, thank you for being here. I noticed that some students have to stand at the back. I hope that, this will be interesting enough for you to stand for another 30 or 40 minutes. Well, let me ask you first, now, how many of you, have never really studied, Chinese language, or you do not know Chinese characters at all? Raise your hands. Thank you. I only see, so many of you actually, learned some Chinese, and you learn, Chinese characters, all right? But, for Chinese writing system, you already have some knowledge. But let's see, now, as you probably already know, unlike the writing system of any Indo-European language, Chinese script is formed with no letters or combination of letters to represent the sounds of the Chinese language. And they use what? Symbols, right? And so just to give you, to say, these symbols, all right, they do not represent sounds, right? Well, as you learn more, say, well, some parts of the characters, when you have, like more than one component in a character, one component may represent sound. But you have to know, what sound, that component represents. Not really like, the Indo-European language, you have letters. These letters usually represent some sounds, and then you just spell the sounds. Anyway, now, let's try, now, when you look at that, now, do you know how to say it? Well, I thought that some of you learned, Chinese. You say, oh, gee, I don't know how to say that. That doesn't tell me, But when you look at that, now, do you know what it is? What is it? All right, what about this? What about this? Water, yeah, continue. Nice. Well, this is a little difficult. Oh, what is that? Earth, yeah, it's a dirt, earth, all right? It's a field. It's a field. Whoa, all right, what about this? It's a tree. This one is easier. Cloud. Rain. Lightning. Or electricity for modern time, Now later on, human beings found, lightning actually electricity, right? When Franklin fly that kite, woo, what is that? So we started to use electricity now, but a long time ago, lightning. A person, right? A woman. But what is she doing? This is mother, right? Breastfeeding, now. Child, baby. It's a big man, right? Yeah, used to be a big man, but now it means big. Looks like, yeah, small. Mouth. You're pretty good. See, you know the meanings, right? Now, But of course, you say, hey, because we have these, pictures here. What if you don't have pictures? Do you remember what this is? Whoa, you're good. Move. Child. Congratulations, you've learned 20 characters. Wow, just in no more than 5 minutes, about 5 minutes. Yeah, if I spend, another 20 minutes to help you to learn this, now, yeah, after this class, after this lecture, see, I've already learned 20 characters. I can recognize them. And after that, I'll ask you, go back and to learn to write them, stroke by stroke. All right, and then in the future, when you want to use the bathroom, and if you are, a man, and if you see, this, sign on the door, should you get in? You would not get in, right? So, Chinese language is not difficult to learn. They're using these symbols. You can recognize them, but of course, if I ask you to say, how do you say them? Oh, yeah, that's why, that's what I found out, now, 20 years ago, to say, why the Chinese language teachers want students to pronounce these? They can pronounce these later. Why don't they recognize these first? You learn, some of these, then you, now learn to, now say them. But anyway, let's look closely, now back to, so now, these characters, how were they formed, in the first place? And we have, characters. Just now, you already have some, we call them pictographic characters. These are the characters created by just drawing a sketch to depict the image, all right? In other words, we say modeling on nature. So you have these earliest, writing like this, in 1899, the head of the Imperial College in China got seriously sick, and he had some Chinese medicine ordered from Chinese medicine store. And then because he was very good at recognizing Chinese characters on paper or on bronze vessels. But he noticed, now in his medicine, Chinese medicine, they have, now plants, minerals, all kinds of things from nature. They put together and you just cook in water. And then you drink that, soup. And that's supposed to be medicine. And he noticed, in there something that was at that time called dragon bone. Dragon bone in this medicine. He noticed some inscription on it. And he said, ooh, what is that? Because he had a knowledge of Chinese writing, so that looks like a Chinese, writing character. So he asked, his servant to go to the Chinese medicine store to purchase all the dragon bones that they had, back. And then he studied to say, whoa, this is a Chinese writing. So in 1899, the oracle bone inscription was discovered by this guy whose name is Wang Zirong, the head of the Imperial College in China. So that's why we got to know that. So when you look at that, now, you actually just now you learn something. What is this? Can you guess? Sun, moon, tree, fire. You're right. You're right. What about these? Person, child, woman, mother. Yeah, you're right. So this is the earliest writing, now. Then, now, we also have some indicative characters. These are the characters, now you have, drawing an abstract sign to indicate an abstract concept, or adding or changing a stroke to an existing pictographic character to indicate a new concept. And here, you look at that and say, ooh, what is that? Well, if I say this is, okay, like, you know, the earth, what is above that and what is underneath? And then you have, okay, now that, okay, it looks like a tree, but this part of the tree, that looks like a sun, right? But it rises, okay, from what? The horizon? So this means up, under, or so up, above, right? Or on, and the other one means down, below, and under. And then you have the root, and then you have what? Down. Well, those of you, I know some students are also learning Japanese, right? Okay, in Japanese, in kanji, you have what? You have, okay, now part of that, right? And you have this, right? That's the first character. What? The sun, root. The root of sun, origin of sun, right? So that's the meaning of Japan. If you look, okay, its name in kanji. All right. And then, okay, well, the development of Chinese characters continue, right? And then we have associative characters. Now, we put, okay, the two components, two single element characters together to form a new character, right? So, like this one, a tree plus another tree. Now you have woods. Yeah, this also means wood, okay, now, but that's woods. All right, I didn't put, okay, another on, but I might want to, you know, you might want to know. Okay, now, 1 tree, 2 trees, and 3 trees. This is another character. What is that? Forest. Yeah, you're good. All right. So you probably learned, but if you have not learned that, you say, oh, okay, you have 2 trees, that's woods. You have 3 trees, forest. More trees. Right. Good. Look at that. You have a person and you have a tree put together. The person is leaning against the tree or under the tree. What do you see what she is doing? Resting. It's a rest, to rest. What about this one? You have a woman and baby. They're together. It's good. Why good? The Chinese, okay, that ancient idea, okay, the biggest tragedy on the earth is that humankind, human beings have no offsprings. If we want to survive, we need to have babies. So if women have babies, good. So when you write good, that the idea is got far. There are a lot of characters, okay, have these ideas embedded in there, all right? Another kind, okay, the character is created by combining a pictographic component that represents the meaning category, and another component that indicates the sound. And we have like 80% of the characters like that. They say, oh, so something that you can, okay, you know how to pronounce that then. Well, look at this. Do you know how to pronounce the tree? You don't, so I put it here. Okay. So what is that? That's water, huh? Yeah, originally it's, it's water like that. Okay, now water and tree together. So you pronounce it as a mu, okay, because that's mu. You say mu. But what does that mean? It means to wash. And here, okay, you pronounce, okay, this is a lin. And if you have water and lin together, you pronounce it as a lin. That means to take a shower. That means a shower. So you have to know how to pronounce this, right, in order to know this. But at the beginning, okay, you don't know. But so this is something I'll talk about later, okay. When you learn the Chinese language, okay, now at the beginning, just try to recognize that, okay. Do not bother about, okay, the sound. Later on, okay, these sounds may help you to learn, to know the sounds of other characters. Explanative, it is pretty interesting also. You also have, okay, 2 components at least in there. Okay, one part, okay, indicates the meaning category, but that is actually added to it. This is a hand here. You have a hand, and then you're holding a tree branch. So that means a tree branch can also mean branch. So they use that to mean branch, and then they when they want to talk about tree branch, they say, oh, okay, so we'll have this to mean branch. And tree branch, we'll add, okay, tree there. All right, so that means when you look at it, okay, tree branch. When you look at this, if only the other side, oh, it means a branch. All right, another example, and you have a water, and this I need to explain. Above it here, that's actually water. Yeah, you see the water? Yeah, that's horizontal. Okay, now down here, it's a vessel. You have a vessel container, and you have a water over that. That means a spill, right? Out of that. But then they also use this to mean benefit, profit. But what about spill? They say, okay, we'll add water here to mean spill. And okay, the pronunciation is E. Okay, we still say E, all right, E. But this means profit or benefit, and that means to spill. So this is another kind of a characters. Then there are a lot of, okay, phonetic long characters. That means, okay, now in daily life, okay, now we want to say something, okay, now, for example, here, we want to say, okay, 8. 8, but we don't have a word for that. Okay, well, we have another, okay, word which means to divide, okay, pronounced the same way as 8. Okay, we'll borrow that to represent 8. All right, so they borrow that, okay, to say, okay, even though this means to divide, yeah, you know, you separate it, to separate, you see, that's separate, you separate that. They're not linked, separate, divide. And then, okay, now, but we use this to mean 8. You borrow that, you have to return. You borrow something, you have to return, right? You return it. But if you don't return it, then what? People don't like you, right? They don't. But in Chinese language, this character is borrowed. They say, okay, we want to use that. Okay, now, but what about to divide, separate? They say, all right, we'll just add knife in here. Yeah, this is actually, okay, means to divide. But now, when you see this number 8, it's this character in modern Chinese, the red color. That's a long phonetic, all right? I mean, long character. Here we have another word, okay, now, when you look at that, now it means north. You say, well, why it means north? It's just the same pronunciation as what? People, you have one person, another person, what they're doing, they're sitting back to back. Back to back. This means back. Originally, it just means the back. So you borrow that to mean north. Now, what about back then? All right. They add, okay, this part. What is that? That's flesh or meat. Okay. It's a human body. It's flesh, okay, refers to that. So now in modern Chinese, this means back. And now this no longer means back, it means north. So we have some phonetic words like that, all right? So these are the actually the 6 kinds of, all right, Chinese characters, how they're formed, as I just introduced. And that you can see, oh, so they're pictographic characters, indicative characters, associative characters. Yeah, actually from, okay, yeah, number 1 and number 2, they're single element characters. And number 3, 4, and 5, they're, okay, multi-component characters. Okay, they have, okay, more than one component in there. So there are at least 2 single element characters in that, to form that character, all right? The last one, it's just, okay, you borrow that word, okay, which has the same pronunciation, and you just use that. So there's these 6 kinds of Chinese characters when you learn them. If you know these, okay, now, yeah, sometimes it helps, especially at the beginning when you learn those basic Chinese characters. You should, okay, learn these, or pick, well, the 20, well, I have more, okay, actually, you should learn about 100. 100? Yeah, just about 5 classes, right? You maybe 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you can learn the basic ones. And those basic ones and develop other characters. All the others actually, okay, all these actually develop from that, all right? So, and yeah, so you may wonder, okay, how long have Chinese characters been in existence? Why it is still, okay, in use, right? Yeah, well, there's no definite answer. Yeah, you can say, well, 5,000 years, 6,000 years. But, okay, scientists, okay, I mean, the scholars are still trying to, okay, determine. But they need, okay, facts, okay, or artifacts to really determine, okay, when. But at least we know this, okay. We know that, okay, that the Chinese characters have been a highly developed system for at least 3,300 years. Yeah, just now I just mentioned, okay, Mr. Wang Zirong, all right, the head of the Imperial College, and discovered that, okay, and he actually, okay, later on he asked the Chinese medicine stores, where did you get the dragon bones? And they found that it's actually somewhere in Henan province, it's actually in central China, Anyang County, there is a village called Xiaotun, all right? There in China now, there is a Chinese character museum, all right? And that's the place, and they unearthed a lot of these, actually, it's oracles and animal bones with inscription on it. And they found 5,000 characters. But you know what? People nowadays can only recognize 15,000. So another 3,500 characters, we still don't know. And in China, if you can they'll say, well, I can recognize one of those 3,500 characters that other people don't know. I can recognize that, and you can prove it, and then when everybody, agreed that, yeah, that is, okay, means that, then you get a prize. It's 100,000 Chinese yuan, about, 14,000 American dollars. Yeah, it is still open. If you want to do that, okay, now want to make money, recognize those characters. But it's not easy, I can tell you. It's not easy. All right. Anyway, so for that, okay, we say, well, at least, okay, 3,300 years, okay, old, all right. But in terms of writing, because, characters are for you, the Chinese script is for you to write, okay. And generally speaking, we just divide them into two periods. When you look at that, it's an ancient writing period would be about, 1,077 before Common Era. And the modern writing period, when you look at it, say, what? You call that modern writing? Whoa, since 206 before Common Era? Yeah, so for a little more than 2,000 years, the Chinese characters have not, changed that much. Okay, some changes, okay, but not, like a drastic change. You say, whoa, okay, so let's look at, these, oracle bone inscription, okay, yeah, that's the time, okay, the Qin Dynasty, roughly, from 1711 before Common Era to 1066 before Common Era. And yeah, I put, without English, you can actually recognize some of them, right? Vehicle with wheels, right? And horse. That horse is not, impressive, huh? It's like a rat. Well, but anyway, that's the best they could do at that time, okay? Bird and cloud. Yeah, I'll give you some more here. These are already recognized. You won't be able to claim prize for them, all right? There are others, still unrecognizable. And then we have, the bronze encryption. These are actually, the people found these. Yeah, actually, Mr. Wang Zirong knew a lot about, bronze inscription. They're actually cast in the bronze vessels. Bronze vessels are actually ceremonial utensils. And Chinese people, when they have an important occasion, to pray to heaven, all right, and then or they have something major in their life, they'll have, bronze vessel, cast, and then they put some words in there. So these are the words, found, in there. Because of these materials last long, so Chinese people know, so the bronze encryption. And yeah, I have more here for you. Yeah, you can recognize, the first line, I believe. Yeah. And let's go on to the next. And then still ancient writing, but this, no longer call, call them inscription. Like oracle bone inscription, you have to use something hard, like a knife, just chisel, to onto the bone. And for bronze vessel, you have to have the mold to do that. But now people began to use brush pen, or some kind of writing instrument to write. So we say it's a script. So this, it's called a seal script because in modern China, now people still have, seals on chops. That's kind of like their signature, Now they put it, on the painting they did or something important, legal documents, they use, their seals, chops, rather than signature, all right? So we call them a seal script. And the Chinese people still have the seals, nowadays, inscribed, in this style. The seals that they have, either jade or, some kind of a precious stone or maybe some kind of a metal. But anyway, this kind of writing was popular in the Qin Dynasty and Han Dynasty, roughly from 220 before Common Era to 206. Actually, I should not put Common Era, so this, actually I should get rid of that. Sorry about that. That should be AD, right? All right, so more examples here. And then there was a big change, all right, during the Qin Dynasty. Because at that time, if you heard of the first emperor, he kind of now conquered the other 6 states, all right, in China. There were a lot of states in China, but then in the end, there were 7, Qi, Chu, Yan, Han, Zhao, Wei, Qin. Yeah, these are the 7 names of the states. And the state of Qin conquered the other 6. And then they say, oh, we have different, characters, or that characters in different shapes. So he unified, the characters. And he kind of just to use, this one, for sun, everybody should, now have this as a sun. Don't write it like in the circle or any other way, now. So kind of like a standardized. Another, reason is that at that time, a lot of documents, government documents have to be, written by people. At that time, there were no computers or typewriters. You just have to write them, with a brush pen. And when people write, you have to write a lot and you have to write quickly. So they actually, now straighten the strokes into straight lines. You see, you compare that, now this is, kind of like you had to be really careful. It takes more time to do this style, a seal script. And see the bird, and when you write that bird, you have to be really artistic, huh? Oh, by the way, Chinese character is a form of art, all right? But anyway, for practical reasons, and then people write quickly, so the strokes, become straightened, more straight than before. And more examples here. And actually, this is kind of called, modern period. So you can actually already still remember what is this? Sun, moon, water, fire. Yeah, we're still writing them the same way in modern time, It's just, now, see here, and we still consider modern writing period now. But is it traditional? Is it traditional? How traditional? It's actually just from the Han Dynasty. About, now 2020 years before Common Era, up to 1955, we've been writing like this, now. They say, what about after 1955? It's this. Well, if you look at this, the first line, now this is traditional, right? Now if I put it here, it's the same, right? It's the same. And then what is not the same is here. You see the vehicle, horse, bird, cloud. Look at here. The number of strokes, is reduced. And don't think that these are newly inventions. No, this cloud is actually more traditional than the traditional cloud. They add rain over that to mean cloud. Actually, the original one is just down there. That's the cloud, all right? And the bird, horse, the simplified ones actually, now people, some people just use them informally, or they write, some characters semi-cursively or cursively, and then they regularize that, So these characters are not just a new creation in the 1950s. They're actually, the ones that have been used among people informally, and then in the 1950s, all right, for the purpose of education, to get rid of illiteracy. There was a movement, all right, to get rid of illiteracy in China. And then they reduced the number of strokes for characters. But they look at, now, what characters, had been used by people? So they collected these characters, and then they say, now we'll, officially recognize these characters, all right, and use them. So the standardization, normalization. So then we say, it's a normalized style. Yeah, nowadays, for, when you use a computer, say, traditional, simplified. Actually, simplified, keep in mind, there are a lot of characters like these have never been simplified. They're already simple enough, all right? So only part of the characters is simplified. So when you say simplified, not all the characters are simplified. Come on, right? So we, actually the proper way to call it is you can say traditional, all right, traditional, yeah, since, 220 before Common Era, and then now you say, simplified is actually normalized, standardized, all right. All right, so you can see, yeah, nowadays we're just, have these characters. But you also notice, now they actually, now these are actually, written by brush pen, all right? And then when you use a brush pen, you can press it, you can lift it. So, for example, and you have this dot here, right? And you put it down and you press it and you lift it. And so that's why you got, pointed on this side, a little bigger on the other side. So they're all now, but now people use what pens? So you just write with hard pens, but still in the same shape. Anyway, talking about this, we can see general trends, all right, for the development of Chinese characters. So the history of the development of the Chinese script in terms of the evolution of forms over the past several thousand years, all right, and you can notice, all right, these three general trends. First, Chinese script used to be drawings, right, depicting the objects. We experienced that, right? Now what? They're just abstract symbols, right? If I now say this is sun, you say, hey, yeah, some students ask, Professor, that doesn't look like a sun. That looks like a window to me. Right? Because it used to be, a circle, and then they put a dot in the middle, in the center to indicate, so it's light, that's light. But now, because, during the Qin Dynasty, those, people had to write, these characters quickly. So at that time, we called it a calligraphical script, all right? They straightened the strokes. Now it becomes this. So it's just a symbol now, right? It's a symbol now. It's not like a pictographic. So that's why we say this is, all right, from drawings depicting objects to more abstract writing system symbols. So that's one trend, right? So all Chinese characters look, when you look at them, it's, whoa, what are these? These are just, abstract symbols, all right, developed from drawings. The second major trend, is actually, now, started with, pictographic method. That's the major way of its construction, right? But now has ended up using more and more abstract symbols developed from the pictographs as a phonetic symbols in new characters. Remember that, to wash, to take a shower, you only have a water radical, and then you have, another character to indicate the sound. Because they don't represent meaning, they only represent sound. For wash is mu, for shower is lin, right? But it has water radical in there to indicate that. The third trend, is that, now the Chinese script used to have a lot of pictographic symbols that were complicated to write, right? A lot of strokes. And now they have become logographs that are much easier to write than before. Those characters who have a lot of strokes have been simplified. The number of strokes have been reduced. All right. Even though, nowadays in the world, in some regions, in China, like Taiwan, Hong Kong, they still use the so-called traditional. They still want to bother, to write, some characters with a lot of strokes. But the majority of the Chinese people, mainly in China, in Singapore, all right, and also in Malaysia, they just started to use a normalized, script. Anyway, so talking about this, and then we have, you're learning, and then some of, and we also have Chinese language teachers, Japanese language teachers, and Japanese language also uses kanji, all right? We know that when we teach a language, a foreign language, all right, we know that, now listening and speaking is important. You learn another language, you need to learn to speak and listen, and then reading and writing is second, right? This is right. But what about Chinese? Well, after we talk, you know Chinese language, the writing system now. This is what I think. And I think it is pretty obvious. Adult learners, should learn to recognize and write basic Chinese. I said basic Chinese characters, not all the Chinese characters, basic Chinese characters, without waiting to be able to say them in Chinese. You already experienced that, right? The sun, the moon, water, earth, right? Why do you have to wait to say, I have to be able to say the sun in Chinese or the moon in Chinese, and then I learn to recognize it and learn to write it? You don't have to wait. The basic characters, you can just learn them without being able to say them. Any, writing system, would have, now these three, shape, sound, and meaning. For Chinese, the shape of the writing system, the symbol, the relationship between meaning and shape are very strong, right? You just experienced that. As for sound, pretty weak. If you're beginners, you can consider the relationship between the shape and the sound 0. If this is true, well, when you learn the Chinese language or when you teach a Chinese language, you should think about, what you should do, all right? So I think you should really, start off with, the shape and meaning, now pay attention to that. And as for how to say them, defer that. And when you learn, the Chinese characters, now, you learn to say, now you learn to say Chinese, ni hao, which means hello, all right, or thank you, that's, xie xie, all right? But all those characters actually, have more than one component in there. They're actually multi-component characters. But your teachers probably could say, or when you learn that, say, I have to learn to write ni hao, which means hello or thank you, xie xie first. That's not right way to teach Chinese, right? You just should really start from the single element, Teach those, what you learn, those 20, still remember? Those are pictographic characters, then indicative, and then associative characters, and then phonetic characters in the end, all right? So this is the teaching sequence or learning sequence, you should think about. Yeah, this may be, kind of like demanding for your Chinese language teachers, huh? We can still have conversations, with the Chinese language teacher. We always want to improve our teaching to make it, make it easier. At least we do not want to make it more difficult for you to learn, right? Anyway, you will say, how many characters should I learn there? There are altogether, 54,678 characters recorded in this dictionary published in 1990. You do not need to learn all that, Yeah, because generally speaking, 7,000 are in general use, all right? But if you learn like 3,500, you're considered educated, very educated, all right? Already. But if you learn, this is a, okay, HSK stands for Standard Chinese Test, Proficiency Test for learners of Chinese to speakers of other languages, okay? Now, level 1, if you can recognize, okay, 178, that's good. If you can recognize, okay, now this amount, okay, level 6, you're a native, kind of like a near native, native, all right? This is a near native. If you learn this many, you can apply into any graduate school in China. So this is the number of characters you should learn, all right? I think that's it. And thank you very much. Yeah, do you have questions, right? Good.
Any questions? We have 5 minutes, so. I was really fascinated about your talk. You touched upon teaching, learning, and then also I thought about language use, and it was kind of eye-opening to hear that teach Chinese characters based just focusing on meanings. Forget about sound. But in linguistics, usually sounds are most important aspect of language and language learning. And so that was a very diverse concept. But language use, it's not that we use only sounds, but we use so many nonverbal semiotic signs like eye contact or gestures. And sign language only hand gestures. And then Chinese characters, I felt that they must be really playing a very important role for communication and probably language learning too. So as a semiotic tool for communication. So I wonder.
Yeah, the beauty of Chinese characters, if I may mention this, okay, is that, okay, in China, okay, yeah, Chinese is a tonal language, but in different areas, okay, people live apart, like, okay, 10 miles away, they can have pretty different tones, okay, for certain character, or different ways of saying things. They may not be able to communicate orally, all right? But they use the same writing system, okay? So if you cannot understand me by, okay, now talking, I'll write it down for you to look at it. So, oh, that's what you mean, okay, now I understand that. If I say, okay, now, for example, okay, people in Beijing, when they greet, they say, 你好, maybe in Shanghai, 侬好不啦? 侬好不啦? What is that? Okay, it's completely different, okay, now. And then you put a 你好吗? 你好. Oh, okay. 我很好 in Mandarin Chinese, people in Beijing, and then in Shanghai is 阿拉美好, right? So they sound very differently. Okay, in China, it's a large country with the different dialects, but with the Chinese characters, they can communicate. But now, okay, now the compulsory, education, okay, now is enforced in China. Okay, now I mean everybody can have free education up to I think up to there should be 9 years of education in China. So all young people learn to speak the standardized pronunciation. It's called Mandarin Chinese. But still, these students, when they go home, at home they talk with their parents. They use local dialects. But Chinese characters, they use the same one. It's for convenience, for communication.
I guess it makes sense for your suggestion to learn reading and writing first. As you pointed out, you can actually write Cantonese in standard Chinese characters. My question is, this should be applicable to any language. So have you ever tried to write an English text in Chinese characters?
Try to write what English, the books for English, introducing the English language in Chinese characters?
No. Any English text, you should be able to write in Chinese characters.
That means you have to translate that into Chinese, right? And you write in Chinese characters. I mean,
You don't have to translate Cantonese into Chinese before you write.
maybe I don't quite understand your question. Your question is that, you want to write English tests in Chinese characters. Is that what you?
Right.
transcribe the sounds. Oh, okay. I think yeah. What you're saying is that if you have a sentence like Chinese characters are fascinating in English. Okay, now how can you write that in Chinese? Yeah, I can write that in Chinese, but not the sound. Okay, with Chinese characters, but in meaning I can do that in Chinese. So Chinese characters, I can say Hanzi, so I can write that here. Okay, so Chinese characters fascinating. So I write it out, okay. But then, but you still, that's kind of like a translation. You have to know that Han means what? Chinese. Han Chinese. Zi means characters. Under the roof, you have a baby, you have water, you have a hand. Okay, now, yeah, Chinese people have, China has 2 big rivers. Okay, Yellow River, Yangtze River. And that's, very hand. Okay, now, on the street, this is a street, actually, street. But we use half of it as this. And then you have a person looking back. This is a person looking back. What? You found something interesting, right? Okay, so that means very in Chinese now. And this means actually, like God, all right? Or deity, okay? Now you have, sacrificial table there. You present, the best thing on the table, okay? And then the other side, is actually like the electricity, the lightning, right? And you have this, now this is a sacrificial, very secret ceremony. You have, that's actually deity or God. And Qi, now big possibility, so that means fascinating. So Chinese is fascinating. Just an example, still it's a translation, all right? But of course, rose is a rose, no matter what you call it. So they have, these to tell you the meaning, but they don't tell you the sound. I don't know if I answered your question.
This question raises many possibilities.
As long as the syntax in English and Chinese is the same, I think my proposition is valid.
Good, yeah, you talk about syntax. Yeah, syntax is a little different, Now in Chinese, Chinese is a head last language, but English, is, when you try to modify a noun, the modifier can be before the noun, can be after the noun. But for Chinese, the modifier is always before the noun. And also in Chinese, we like to put the place, time at the beginning of, before the action. And then in English, you can put it before the action or after the action, right? So syntax is a little different, yeah. But you're right. If the syntax is exactly the same, yeah, then translation would be easier.
And there was a comment in there, please.
Mine is different.
I was about to ask you.
This is different from what we were.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I was going to ask about what you think about the use of pinyin in teaching Chinese language.
Pinyin, yeah, it's useful. It helps, people whose native language is Indo-European language to learn the pronunciation. So it's useful in that way. But if you eventually, you will still have to learn the Chinese characters because there are so many homophones. And if you, say, now, 不直, so what do you mean? Because the 不直 means not straight. It can also mean that's not worth it. So which do you mean here? So you have to use a context. But if I just, out of context, just say 不直, and you don't know what I'm talking about, but looking at Chinese characters, and you will know. Kind of like in English, when you say right, what do you mean? On the right-hand side or correct? Or ceremony right. Which right you're talking, or to right? What do you mean? But in English, you only have right, but in Chinese, there's so many words that have the same pronunciations. So that's why you have to use Chinese characters.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Yin.
Oh, thank you very much. I know students will.